How R3 is Shaping the Future of Regulated Markets と題しまして、R3 創業者兼 CEO のデビッド・ルッターさんから講演があります。デビッドさん、よろしくお願いします。
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming today. I'm David Rutter, the CEO and founder of R3, and it's my honor to have a chance to address all of you today, especially following from the presentations of my two friends, Fujimoto-san and Hasegawa-san. So it's a great privilege to have a chance to speak with all of you today. So I'm going to start out by talking a little bit about how I believe that we are at an inflection point. So I'm going to take a look back and we'll take a peek forward as to why I believe that's the case. So while inflection points are really only determined when you look back at them over time, I believe that history will prove that right now we're experiencing one with the advent of the digital economy. For some of us, honestly, it feels like a long time coming. But at this moment, we're witnessing the convergence of traditional finance on the one hand and digital finance on the other, as institutions from both the public and the private sector finance discuss the benefits of digital assets, CBDCs, and stablecoins on Ledger. The insane exuberance around all things crypto, which of course we're seeing unfolding in the last 48 hours or so as well, with the issues around FTX, and the excitement about public ledgers is fading a bit, and people are really beginning to focus around the benefits that these ledgers can deliver to their institutions now. Interest in distributed ledger technology is growing stronger as financial market participants recognize through the learnings from live deployments its potential to transform industry and its processes. And while all these market drivers have propelled the financial industry forward, we believe that this is an evolution, that we are playing a long game, and that means that for those of you that want to be in the game, need to be in the game now and stay in for the long run, and that we need to start modernizing and digitizing our industry now and stick with it. Earlier, Hasegawa-san had talked about the importance of interoperability, so I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Many of you may not think about open when you think of Corda, as we're permissioned by design. And there's a good reason for that. We started with a private permission DLT because we believe that is the foundation that regulated entities require to transact securely with their counterparties. But that doesn't mean that we at R3 believe in closed systems and networks. The backbone of the new digital economy will be built on openness, connectivity, and trust. And that's why interoperability of both public and private networks, including applications, systems, and standards, is critical. Regulated companies and institutional investors will really only begin to experiment with DeFi once there's an infrastructure in place that meets their security, operational, and compliance requirements. Only Corda-powered solutions meet those requirements now. And that's why we're developing and soon deploying use cases that show non-traditional digital assets moving from public networks like Ethereum onto a regulatorily compliant Corda-based network. Our initial focus is on two different types, asset bridging and atomic swaps. Asset bridging enables an asset to move from one ledger to another. So for example, think of an Ethereum precious metal token that is minted on Ethereum and moved onto the Corda-based network to bring it into a regulated lifecycle workflow. Or perhaps a CBDC issued on Corda that can be wrapped and minted onto another network like Quorum for payment. That's the one type. Another type is called atomic swaps. That's when two assets can be exchanged simultaneously on separate networks and ledgers. We built out the basic workflow for atomic swaps when we participated in Project Jura, alongside with the BIS and the central banks of both Switzerland and France. In that project, we enabled a central bank issued euro to be paid and settled from one bank to another on a French regulatory network, while simultaneously a Swiss franc was paid and settled in the opposite direction on a Swiss regulatory network. Ultimately, interoperability across public and private chains requires an open dialogue and a transparent view of our progress. That's why we're actively engaging with our customers across private and public sectors to unlock the broadest possible reach. R3's vision is to move financial markets forward by building the bridge between the future of decentralized finance on the one hand and the current reality of regulated markets to unlock greater value in a secure, compliant, and inclusive way. And that vision also extends to the future of money and greater financial inclusion. As many of you know, R3 has been at the forefront of CBDC innovation since 2016. We have participated in numerous central bank-led projects, proving that CBDCs can be delivered efficiently, faster, and in a safer financial system when powered by DLT. I already mentioned Project Jura, but this past year we also participated in Digital Tenge, Helvete, and Dunbar, all wholesale CBDC projects. And we developed the CBDC accelerator in our sandbox to help central banks around the world simulate how to program, mint, monitor, and distribute their digital currencies. We've also developed a stablecoin accelerator to fast-track the issuance of digital tokens that are pegged one for one with central bank reserves or commercial bank deposits. We're also always keeping our ear to the ground to identify opportunities that we believe will be game changers, and the ESMA pilot regime is just one of them. That is a European regime in which a regulator has outlined the path to production for ledger-based solutions for asset issuance, secondary trading, and maintenance. We're also deepening our relationships with MTFs and other leading providers in that space to understand the ability to integrate, because we understand the ability to integrate is just as important as the need to innovate. As we mentioned earlier, we've seen some exciting developments in capital markets this year, and digital assets have really begun to come into the fore. The world's first digital bond was issued by SDX, which is a FINMA-regulated digital exchange powered by Corda. As a matter of fact, they just issued the second bond last week by UBS. It was a $377 million euro issuance. The central counterparties for security clearing in the US, DTCC, also chose Corda recently as the foundational technology for Project Ion, representing the largest DLT initiative in the financial sector. Project Ion offers DTCC members the option to settle equity traders faster than T+2, which has been the industry standard in the US for the past 5 years. Their initial deliverable is T+1, but they have effectively future-proofed their system as there's no technical limitations to T+0 or an atomic settlement implementation. What's most exciting about Project Ion is it's not just up and running, but it's already running at scale. DTCC is processing over 100,000 transactions a day on the platform, and they've included participation from some of their biggest members and clients, including Goldman Sachs, Barclays, JP Morgan, and BNY Mellon. Given they clear trillions of dollars a day in securities, I can't think of a better organization to validate Corda's performance and reliability. On the other side of the ocean, we have a deal with Euroclear, which is Europe's largest central securities depository, who has also chosen Corda for its new digital financial market infrastructure replacement journey. And we're not just seeing digital transformation in the FMI space, we're seeing it across commercial banks and fintechs as well. Wells Fargo recently went live with their digital cash solution, which streamlines cross-border settlements, enabling them to better manage currency exposure and to cut costs. Our old friends at ABI, the Italian Banking Association, is live on Spunta Banca and has been for the past 3 years. That platform serves as the backbone for interbank reconciliation across the entire Italian banking system. And Greenium is a startup that makes it easier for both individuals and corporations to invest in tokenized, sustainable assets. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming next here at R3. In the spring of next year, we will be launching our new platform, Corda 5. It's our next generation of Corda, which delivers on our promise of connectivity, scalability, flexibility, and much more. It has been informed by the voice of real-world Corda customers who are using our software now at scale. Corda 5's modular design enables you to start small and grow big, and provides optionality so that you can prove the value of your solution from day one without being forced to choose an expensive end state. Underpinning all of this is a rock-solid ledger foundation that is highly performant and fit for purpose. Importantly, other benefits of Corda 5 include lower cost of ownership, faster app deployment, and more. It will also pave the way for easy interoperability between Corda applications and for the trusted bridges to public blockchain networks like Ethereum and bespoke solutions like Finality. We're excited to deliver a platform that is both future-proofed and easy to build on today. No other DLT provider can make that claim, and we believe Corda will be the foundational platform for regulated market entities for decades to come. We're also doubling down on our commitment to sustainability. Industry leaders need to consider ESG and climate change when making financial decisions. And we believe that DLT platforms like Corda are perfectly suited to provide the necessary transparency, integrity, and trust which is needed to support this. Corda is already the most sustainable DLT platform by design, with its peer-to-peer architecture and significantly lower energy consumption. So, in closing, I would like to say that I encourage you all to keep challenging the status quo, to keep pushing, keep building, and push for innovation and stick with it. Because when you're leveraging a once-in-a-generation technology such as DLT to modernize an industry as important as global finance, it just doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't happen with one institution or one solution. Real change happens when we can come together as a collective force. Here at R3, we're on a mission to transform financial services from within. This isn't a rip and replace or a revolution. It's an evolution. And we believe that with each successful application built and deployed on Corda, we draw one step closer to shaping the future of finance. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a really nice day today. Thank you.
David さん、thank you very much. Thank you. 続きまして R3 チーフレベニューオフィサーのキャシー・ミンターさんよりご講演があります。Cathy, please.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here today at the first ever R3 SBI Corda Day. I would like to build a little bit on what Fujimoto-san and Hasegawa-san and David talked about in a little bit more detail today on what we're seeing in the market, and also talk about some of the interesting initiatives that we're working on here at R3. Okay, so early adopters have been embracing blockchain technology now for probably the last several years. Central banks, commercial banks, and financial market infrastructure providers, though we're seeing, are becoming much more serious. Many of the projects are moving outside of innovation centers and into the lines of business, looking to solve more real-world problems than just experimentation. In fact, the financial services industry is still the largest in the world. In 2021, global fixed income and equity issuance was in the trillions of dollars. That's the good news. However, we are seeing some significant challenges. First, operating costs are becoming almost unsustainable. Asset and currency trades, transfers, and settlement are running in the billions of dollars. Secondly, there's a real challenge to remain relevant, with new entrants coming into the market from DeFi and others. Interesting, many of the developing countries are moving faster to Web3. We came from the Singapore FinTech Festival last week, where some of the analogies were made that it's the example of going from the skipping the PC altogether and going right to the smartphone. Also, companies are being weighed down by technical debt. The classic business systems that are based on large legacy and centralized technology are just creating an immense technical debt, and the outdated technology infrastructure needs to be modernized. So that's the challenge. But the good news is that by embracing greater inclusion and digitization, financial market participants can turn the challenges into opportunities. So you hear me today talk a little bit about what R3 is doing in digital currencies and digital assets. These new financial instruments offer significant benefits to all participants with the value chain as they deliver both trust and new sources of liquidity. By offering ways to fractionalize ownership, institutional market is now open to new investor types and greater financial inclusion. We've heard much in the last few days about real estate, and that's a great example of where this would have a major impact. Also, smarter workflows and business processes enable assets to be governed and orchestrated via shared workflows. When you underpin this by a distributed and scalable infrastructure like Corda, assets can be traded seamlessly and settled in real time. So, my favorite job here at R3 is going out and talking with customers. And I think what we are hearing more and more is that this process is going on a journey together. As David just mentioned, it's not a revolution, it's an evolution. These projects are difficult, and it's not something that will happen overnight. Just to reiterate R3's value proposition, the power of three are these three major pillars. One, our foundation contains two key products, Corda and Conclave. And within those products, trust is center, and also center with regulated markets. And we continue to see that every day in the news. And you've seen some of the recent announcements this week that have impacted that. When you have digital trust, you can unlock these new opportunities within regulated markets. And at R3, we are also proud to be working with a very large ecosystem of more than 400 partners. And we regularly speak with large financial services, institutions, banks, systems integrators, and regulators to help drive the industry forward. As I mentioned earlier, the financial services industry is in a unique position to capitalize on the digital asset economy, and we believe Corda is ideally suited for it. What are some of the reasons for that? One, as a highly performant and secure platform, we enable the life cycle of the digital asset. We also deliver a solid foundation for modernizing classic technology. We all know that our legacy systems are aging and holding us back from innovation. As DLT is really emerging as an opportunity to modernize the entire IT landscape today. And as we talked about before, Corda is a modular platform, so you're able to do this in phases and take yourself on a journey. As David also talked about, and you can see from these logos, our leading companies, exchanges, financial market infrastructure providers, commercial banks, corporates are working with us, and each segment here has its unique set of challenges. But we see this entire ecosystem coming together to solve these real-world problems. I want to take a second to talk about digital currencies. It's amazing to see the rise of digital currencies, even just in the last year. The rise of both public and private CBDC and stablecoins. And for R3 on the fiat-backed stablecoins, that always means it's going to be operating safely within a regulated environment. We're also seeing that CBDCs can deliver a more efficient, faster, and safer financial system. They can help cross-border payments, they will enable programmable money, and really help on the liquidity management side. R3's been engaged for many years, since 2016, on these CBDC initiatives. Many have also been right here in the region. We've worked within Singapore, Hong Kong, and India. All have had active regional trials. We're currently working right now with pilots in Bhutan, Kazakhstan, also several central banks out of the Middle East region. On the stablecoin side, we have been working within the private sector. There's a large rising interest in the fiat-backed stablecoin. They are backed by commercial bank deposits or cash deposits. Wells Fargo Digital Cash is an example of that, and David had mentioned that earlier, which we'll talk about. Last week at the Singapore FinTech Festival, we were honored to sign an MOU for a cross-border multi-currency securities settlement system. We're also working with the ADB Bank on other DLT use cases across the entire capital markets spectrum. You may have heard on Project Dunbar, which was another successful CBDC shared settlement project in the region built on Corda. It brought together the Reserve Bank of Australia, the Bank Negara Malaysia, MAS, and the South African Reserve Bank, along with the BIS, to test CBDCs for international settlements. The results included a faster payment settlement and lower FX risk. As David talked about, the Wells Fargo Digital Cash is a use case that can be applicable to so many organizations. They're exploring a stable coin for their Treasury Department to complete interbook transfers across bank branches. By using an internal token, the bank no longer relies on third parties like SWIFT or corresponding banks, resulting in faster transfer times, near real-time settlement and reconciliation, and reduced points of failure. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip to the DTCC, which David talked about as well. But this is one of the best examples of a systematically important global institution that is trying to remain relevant in capital markets. they need to modernize their classic or legacy infrastructure, and they are starting by reducing their settlement time from T+2 to T+1, which is actually an enormous effort within the US equities market. The key thing about DTCC is they are in production and operating at scale on Corda, and they have the potential to fully integrate Corda into many other areas of their business as they continue to digitize. As you know, our ecosystem that David talked about include many of the partners here in the region, and we continue to connect them across the ecosystem. So to wrap up, I just want to talk about a few other things that are happening in 2023. As David mentioned, Corda is being released. We are incredibly excited. Please reach out to us post this event to get trained or have us get engaged to talk further about how this can help impact your business. We're also launching the next version of our digital currency accelerator, and that will support both CBDCs and fiat-backed stablecoins. We'd love to work with you to explore and educate you on what we're doing there. We're also exploring a digital asset accelerator to help reach more market participants, as we talked about earlier. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak today. Please reach out to the team here. We would love to learn more about your business and how SBI and R3 together can work alongside you to help solve real business problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cathy さん。盛大な拍手をお願いします。